I told my mom that I don't want her boyfriend anywhere near my hoo-ha, and now she's upset, saying I hurt his feelings. I feel so violated. Trigger warning, essay. Hey everyone, I'm really stuck in a weird and kinda gross situation right now. I, 18 female, am finishing up high school and still living with my mom, 34 female. So, a few months ago, my mom started dating this new guy who's 50. Okay, age gap weirdness aside, things got super awkward for me personally. About 3 months ago, my period started getting super bad. Like, talking unusually heavy bleeding and major cramps and just a lot of pain that I've never dealt with before. Obviously, I was like, okay, time to see a gynecologist, because I haven't been to one since I was 15 and this isn't something to mess around with. Also it's time to get a routine pelvic exam anyway. I told my mom, thinking she'd be supportive and help me make an appointment. We live in a pretty remote rural area right now. My high school has literally like 50 students, and it's like an hour drive to the nearest urgent care even. Also the insurance I'm on sucks and I need her to help me with the copay. But nope. The next day she's like, guess what? My boyfriend can do your checkup. Yeah, turns out he used to be a board-certified gynecologist, but got his license yanked away a few years back. And why does she want him to do it? To save money on the copay since our insurance kinda sucks, and to avoid driving 2 hours to see a doctor in town. Now, let me be clear, this guy gives me the major creeps. He's done stuff like not knocking before entering my room, making weird jokes that are definitely not okay, and just giving me those vibes that scream stay away. So, the thought of him being all up in my business for a pelvic exam? Hell no. When I said as much to my mom, explaining there's no way I'm letting her boyfriend anywhere near me like that, she lost it. She said I was being insulting, assuming the worst about her boyfriend and that I had hurt his feelings by suggesting he couldn't be trusted. She said I was essentially implying he's a perv. It ended with her saying I was grounded for even thinking he was some sort of creep. So, here I am, feeling stuck and kinda violated by the mere suggestion, and punished on top of that. Am I wrong for standing my ground and not wanting her boyfriend to do the exam? Update, so I get home from school today and my mom is waiting in the living room for me, sobbing. Her boyfriend, the creep, is standing right there next to her. For background, for the past 2 years she's been a really religious, born-again Christian type. No boys, curfew, the whole 9 yards. I've never made love or had a boyfriend, so in between sobs she tells me the creep talked to her today, and told her that based on my symptoms, heavy bleeding and period cramps, and my disrespectful behavior, he's sure that it's from being intimately active. Not even an STD, but from making love that was so intense it injured my insides. I've literally never heard of this and I looked it up later and it's not even a thing. Meanwhile the creep is sitting there mostly silent, nodding along with what my mom is saying. I tried to get a word in but that's when the creep started on me, telling me don't even bother denying it. I've been a gynecologist for over a decade, I know this when I see it yada yada yada. My mom then starts yelling at me like, how could you do this to me and so on and so forth. She's convinced I've been going out and making love with boys from school when I've literally just been seeing the 2 or 3 friends I have. So then they explain that they decided to gather some consequences for what I allegedly did, that I'm grounded, they're going to switch out my iPhone for a dumb phone so I can't use social media, I'm not allowed out to see my friends, and this is the crazy bit. The creep is going to perform a weekly purity test invasive hoo-ha exam to make sure that I'm not actively making love until they can trust me again. And the first one is gonna be this weekend. I'm totally lost here. Obviously I'm not going through with this, but I have no money at all and nowhere I can stay even for one night. I'm leaning on making up some excuse to avoid the purity thing and keep my smartphone until I can sort something out. Any other ideas are appreciated. Update 2, so it's been an absolutely insane 48 hours and I'm completely at a loss about what to do next. I'm currently at a friend's house and I'm typing this on her phone. In the middle of the night last night, like 3 a.m., I'm woken up by my mom absolutely banging on my bedroom door and shouting at me. I open the door, she and the creep are both there. She's totally wired and obviously on something. She drinks a lot and sometimes she uses methamphetamine. She can get really aggressive and angry when she uses, so I'm used to this. The creep closes the door behind her, and meanwhile she's incoherently shouting and rambling something about demons. The creep then yells at me, he says like, see what you did to her? This is your fault. You're killing her. And so on and so forth. He grabs my phone out of my hand and says I'm not allowed on the internet. So my mom calms down a bit and the creep sits down on my bed and starts explaining. He says he didn't tell my mom the whole truth before because it is so horrible. It's not that my insides are messed up from making love, he says. I actually have a demon inside me from engaging in immoral intimate acts. A literal demon. From making love and self-pleasuring. And he says he's seen this kind of thing before in his clinical practice, and he says he knows how to cure it. My mom is twitching and rambling like the whole time he explains it. So he says he's going to force me to wear a chastity belt so I can't make love or touch myself. And to get the demon out, he's going to unlock me once a week and stimulate me to climax. And he says mom is totally on board with this and they're going to force me to submit to this. So obviously I'm like screw this. I'm saying go F yourself, I'm not doing that, and then he grabs my wrists and sort of pins me on the bed and says you know what, you little brat, we're gonna do this right now. My whole body fills up with adrenaline or something, I don't even know what, but I'm wired. And I straight up bite his chin hard and he yelps in pain and I run to the door and open it and run out of that house and into the woods behind the house. I didn't even think about leaving my phone behind. I've walked to my friend's house before about a mile from my house, but this was the middle of the night and I was scared out of my mind. Something else opened up in my mind and I wasn't even thinking, I was just running and not even looking back. Just running through the woods. And at one moment I heard the creeps shouting and saw a flashlight in the distance and I just kept running. So I finally get to the friend's house and I bang on the door. Her mom answers and I manage to say my mom's boyfriend tried to SA me. She understands immediately and lets me in and says I can stay there for the time being and that she'll drive me to the police station an hour away. I don't even talk for the drive, I'm just totally numb. We get there and I go in and say my mom's boyfriend tried to SA me. I get taken into a back room and this older detective guy, I guess, takes my statement. Now this guy seems like the stereotypical good old boy. He seems really skeptical of my statement from the moment I start explaining it. He's poking all these holes in it. He has this tone of basically yeah, right, and he asks me a bunch of sort of hostile questions so it feels like I'm the one being interrogated. He says he's heard too many telltales from young women and he can smell bullshit. He then asks me if I want to retract my statement, because if they find any inconsistencies upon investigating they will prosecute me for filing a false report. He doesn't even give me advice for a woman's shelter or anything. Anyway, back at my friend's place now, not even going to school this week. Could really use some advice about next steps.